So, well, first off, welcome back to the Welshcare podcast. I know it's been quite a few months since my last recording, but we'll get into that from a different day. But today, I happen to have another heavy swinger in the building here today, on the studio in the podcast. I want to introduce himself a little bit. His story is incredible, and then also what he does is incredible as well.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me, Tim. I appreciate it. I'm Joe uh, Goondalini on Instagram, and I've been swinging a mace now for about 4 years, probably going on 5 years, and it's definitely something that was completely different than anything I'd experienced before in terms of weightlifting. I come from like a gym bro kind of background at first, and then I evolved into getting coached in powerlifting and everything, and then a little bit of strongman and then finally stumbled upon the maces and I don't know, just kind of combining things and getting like a really cool, I wouldn't call it like a program, but kind of like maybe like a protocol almost, of how I like to use it and combine it with the more traditional style, weightlifting and everything like that.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. You've done a pretty damn good job of displaying how to do so. One of the things that really stood out to me the most is that you actually make your own maces for the most part. How did you get into that process? Because I know everyone likes to swing their maces, but I see very few people who actually make their own maces.
Yeah. So I had bought one uh initially, like a traditional like one, I guess, more like a gata, with the concrete head and a bamboo handle. And it was really cool. It was a little expensive, purchasing it from somebody else, having it shipped especially. And
Hmm.
I didn't really know what I was doing. And there was like a couple things online. I felt like kind of like I had to pay my way almost though. Like I had to like, pay my entry fee into this whole thing. So out of I guess maybe like a little bit of respect or something like that, I paid and I got this thing and it was cool and everything. But eventually the handle ended up snapping, and
Mm.
I was like, there's got to be something, a little bit more like I guess rugged. And so I'm a welder by trade, and I came up with, taking steel pipe and basically just welding caps on the ends of it and leaving it hollow so I can fill it with whatever I have, chain or sand or whatever I got that'll fit in there. And I started making them like regular traditional steel maces with just the steel handle all the way through. And then eventually I started making them with a wood handle and the steel head, which kind of gave it like that traditional gata feel, but it's very versatile because it can be loaded with plates on the bottom. I can also, load it with whatever I have, like I said before. So it's been, I don't know, kind of like a little bit of a brainchild thing I've come up with and just been running with.
See, that's like very innovative. Most people who see people swing these maces and they see people swing these beautiful tools, they think, oh, I don't know how you can make one. But in reality it's not really too complicated to make one in general. It really is, unless if you have the skill like the way you have it, for welding in particular. But from what I've seen, like Coach Mike Ramjet is another one who is basically someone who also makes, again, ignoring calls. You tell people, it's you can't do something at a certain time, and yet they still completely are oblivious to that conversation. That's why, oh my God, it's so annoying for that part. You literally 10 minutes beforehand, 10 minutes, I tell people, listen, my phone is off. If it sees on do not disturb, please. Well, it means I am busy. It's very rarely it's like that the case. But going back to go on Mike, he's the first person that I saw with that, and then I saw your page, and one of the main things that also stands out about your page too, you also happen to be type 1 diabetic,
Yes.
and traditionally it's harder for you to even just break down sugar, obviously. uh with your scenario, you built this rugged body still, and you've maintained, I want to say, advanced fitness levels with certain things, with how heavy you're also able to swing at the same time. What are some of the things that keep you, I want to say, more motivated and disciplined towards actually, staying not only fit and strong, but as as fit and strong as you really are right now, and also being type 1 diabetic?
So I've been diabetic since 2012, and when I first got into everything, it was kind of I wasn't they essentially just cut you loose really from the hospital with thing of syringes and the vial of insulin and a prescription for more. You get like a crash course basically on how to dose yourself and whatever. And you can like I hadn't really exercised much before finding out that I was diabetic, and the exercises I was doing, I was having a hard time keeping up with like my blood sugars being in like stable ranges. I would be like going low a lot because in the end I found out that I was giving myself way too much insulin.
Mm,
So one of the things that is like really motivating for me is to like figure out how I can not have to use so much insulin and be able to use like what my body can do, naturally by like just my, your muscles uptake glycogen and glucose and everything to burn, as fuel.
right.
So if I have a high blood sugar or like elevated blood sugars, I can exercise and it'll eventually start to wear down, those numbers and bring it down into like a more like acceptable range. So what I've really been like kind of trying to do with my like one of my focuses in the background of everything I'm doing is managing the diabetes, through a lot of like physical exertion,
Mm,
because it's like, it's one like it helps mentally because it can be like a very frustrating thing because like one day, the same amount of potato is so many units. And then the next time it's the same because, the pump gives the same for the same amount I punch in, but it just doesn't seem to work sometimes. Like it's like the dosages change or whatever. But so anyway, back to what I was getting at is I have to it's important for me to manage my diabetes efficiently because one, I also have a daughter who's type 1 diabetic as well.
mm.
So it's important, to me to provide a good example for her to see, how to handle this whole thing or whatever. But you know, essentially like part of this diagnosis is and like taking care of it is I have to exercise. It's one of like the only ways of like, efficiently like, using your body and the medicine that I have to use in order to take care of this whole thing, effectively.
And see, I wanted to ask you those things just because I personally have two of my clients who are also type 1 diabetic. One is a younger female, one is a older male, and both are completely on the different ends of the spectrum when it comes down to their fitness levels. Like the young girl is still developing her own regime. The older guy is now trying to break off years of mistreatment. And then there's someone like you who is basically once you got diagnosed, you took it more serious, is what it sounds like, your fitness and your health and everything else. To individuals who are also type 1 diabetic, what are some pieces of advice that you can give that will give them at least, a little bit more of an idea on how to not only maintain during fitness levels, but also what kind of things they should be doing on top of not only just regularly working out, but anything that they could take on the side or any type of foods they really should be paying attention to, but also understanding also have every human body is different, so knowing that everything is not always going to work for everybody else.
So a couple things I learned is, you hear a lot about like like the glycemic index and everything and how foods higher will give like it's a longer or longer time for it to break down, like they say like complex carbohydrates or whatever, um like brown rice or something like that, that'll take a little bit longer to digest or whatever, like slowly processing the carbohydrates. What I found out those things is like, yeah, it's good if that's what you're interested in eating, like there's no problem with that. um but what I found is that like things like that, those slower digesting carbs are, it's like a long term, like it's harder to combat the those carbohydrates because it's like a slow release, and you're constantly getting like a slow drip of carbohydrate instead of eating something that was maybe like a little bit faster, like maybe like a piece of fruit would be a little bit quicker to hit and to be like taken care of, as opposed to like eating like a good serving of like a sweet potato, or like I said, brown rice and things like that. Like, everything, like those types of things are tricky to account for. And another thing is that's really important with this is like being hydrated. Um,
Mm.
making sure, like, I mean, if you don't have, enough, like if you're not hydrated, like the insulin just doesn't seem to work as effectively. And I'm sure that like it aids in like everything being like uptaken into the cells and whatnot, with like as long as you got like your electrolytes and everything are squared away, like sodiums and all that stuff. Um, it seems that it's a lot more effective, as or like I find if I'm having a hard time dealing with something that I've eaten and I just can't get my sugars to fall like to get in the range, and all my stuff is good, like all my kit and everything is good, and nothing's spoiled or kinked or whatever, that sometimes I find that like maybe I am a little bit dehydrated and things do start to like turn around pretty quickly, if that's the case. So it's definitely something to look out for.
Now that's one thing I actually never heard before was the hydration part, and that makes a little bit more sense on one of my clients' ends, who is a very hard, stubborn water drinker. But now to implement that a little bit more is going to be easy to trip into the ear. But when did it all officially? I want to not like there's was it at I'm how old is your kid?
She's 9.
So would you say it was a once you had your kid, it was a little bit more of the experience of now I gotta be the example for my kid.
Yeah, I was pretty reckless when I first was diagnosed, and I just, not that I was reckless, like I didn't care or anything like that, but like I would eat a lot, and like I would never count carbs. I wouldn't ask like at a restaurant, like, because a lot of the things at restaurants, like you can get the carb counts for what you're eating, roughly it'll be somewhere like within that range, and like I just wouldn't. I would just
Mm,
guess on things, and it would either be underdose or overdose. And next thing you know, you got to deal with those, like the staying up all night urinating because your blood sugar's through the roof, and waking up dehydrated and feeling like garbage, or waking up, on the other end sweating and blood sugars are low and it's completely dangerous. And it's just not. So it's like really, it's something that I had to get under control. And obviously, technology really helps out big time, and that's something that I'm like a huge advocate of, is people that are type 1 diabetic to get with your doctor and at least get on a CGM, so you can have like that real time data of your blood sugars, especially like 'cause it can literally save you. And like I
yeah.
mean, it's like I hear my child goes off frequently, and it's something that's like really important to have. And I feel like you should still hear like people message me a lot that are diabetic and like newly diagnosed and whatnot, and I'll get messages of people saying like that they're just you doing like the finger pricks and whatever, and they're nervous and their blood sugar runs high and everything, and like they're really having to like push their doctors to prescribe them you know at least just a CGM. And a lot of these now are available right through the pharmacy. Like when you get the prescription, you can go right to the pharmacy and get them right there. You don't have to wait for it to come through the mail or whatever. Like it's really gotten to be like really convenient. So that's something that I'm really an advocate for people, is pushing for at least the CGM. And at this point, with the way things are with like technology, like to get on an insulin pump,
Mm.
because like it's so much more stable than playing like the maybe I'm giving myself enough for this or whatever. Like it's so accurate, and it can dose me and correct high blood sugars and back off when I'm going low, warn me when I'm going low. Like it's such like a valuable tool to have, and it's something I definitely think that people that do have this condition should certainly look into it.
Now, with this device, do you find that it's something that it is basically the 100% necessity needed for someone, or would you
No,
say
not
like someone?
100% necessity. Um, you can definitely do without. Um, it's certainly something that, if you're like if you have, for children, I think I would say it's a necessity, especially if you have to give your child insulin. I think it's a necessity because kids can, they're different about how they eat. They might you
Mm.
you know I, like they're you give them a plate and
All right, guys. So real quick, we're just gonna take a small break to talk a little bit more about the boys over at Cannabolics. Cannabolics started as a CBD company back in 2019 as for NCAA athletes get a clean source of CBD without the risk of THC interfering with their drug tests. So if you are somebody who is in needing of any type of CBD pain relief, or if you're in needing of a quality night's sleep, or just stay focused and a little bit more on the side of attacking your anxiety as well while staying mellow and calm and staying focused at the same time. Go to cannabolics.org and use promo code Welshcare, WELSHCARE at checkout. And by all means, if you want to get a little more on the elevated side, check out the Cannabolics Plus area. And by all means, same code Welshcare. You guys already know where I'm going with that. Enjoy.
plate and you give them insulin for what's on the plate, they don't finish it, and
Mm.
now you're kind of like, all right, we got to eat something else. So trying to figure out how much food to give is kind of hard. And sometimes, either, like I said, it's easy to go over or go under, and going under, unfortunately, is much more dangerous than going over, because having a low blood sugar can be fatal. You know, High blood sugars are bad in the long term for your nerves and your eyes and things like that. But it's like low blood sugars can be quick to be, you pass out. I mean, one, falling is dangerous, obviously, but it's complete loss of like your function of your limbs. You fall down, coma, blacking out, things like that. It can be really dangerous.
That I've unfortunately seen one of those episodes happen, actually in my gym, where someone necessarily didn't, have their had the lower blood sugar, and then they also on top of that didn't eat before their workout, so they started working out,
Mm.
really pushing, and then just seen them fall flat right into the back and crack their head on the ground.
It's
It
quick. Yeah.
Ugh, it's seeing that there was one of the main. It actually wasn't that long ago either. One of the main reasons why I wanted to have you on here to go into a little more detail about it, so I could also get a little more information firsthand from someone else as well, who also is in the fitness industry too. I'm not just somebody who will, just look up everything because the internet is all just a bunch of,
Yeah.
yeah, misguided stuff. And then when it comes down to just hearing from a real resource of someone who's actually currently going through it, and you also actually, unfortunately, have a kid who also is going through it as well, you're a better representation and can give off the actual real time information. So I also want to say I appreciate you, sharing everything that you're sharing right now. It's
Yeah,
definitely,
absolutely.
it's very informative for anyone that watches here, but then also with the clips and everything else I'll be posting up as well. They'll be mainly around these type of topics too, just because I don't see all too often too many people talking about in general type 1 diabetes, in
Mhm.
particular, uh, people you don't have to be, you know obese to have it. Like it's a
No.
completely different version of diabetes. Like it's not necessarily like also another, fairly known mace swinger, Josh, grappling type 1 up in Canada. Had him
Yeah.
on almost 2 years ago was the last time I had him on the podcast. Jesus. And talking to him about it as well. And hearing from your perspective on things too. These are important for people to hear. Just so this way, if they know anybody, they can also understand that they can also have a very healthy lifestyle, while also understanding that it's going to be a little more challenging versus the regular person who can actually produce insulin properly, unfortunately. But it's also, yeah, it's just it's especially in the fitness industry too, in general, because people, I remember, basically, people are very ignorant to this topic in general, or when it comes down to just health, or people's healthy or health problems, and people's also excuses. And people will use a lot of their ailments towards their excuses. And when someone like yourself, who also is type 1 diabetic, and there's other people I know who are also type 1 diabetic, and they are not using it as their excuse, they're using it as their motivation to, stay healthier. So I applaud you for that as well. Now,
Appreciate it.
when no, it's especially in a generation where everyone it wants to play a victim and everyone wants to have the attention on them, and everybody wants to basically be the woe is me type person, so they get the sympathy pat in the back and all that stuff. Like no, that's not how winners are made, and that's also not how people. That's not how life is in general. Like
Yeah,
at that point, you're gonna be a sad sack of lazy potential if you're just gonna wait for the magic pill to make you feel better. Uh,
for sure.
outside of that, going on a little side tangent with that stuff. My apologies. Uh, so you talked a little bit more about your trade welding. What else do you do on the side?
I train people. A lot of it's through Zoom now. I was training people
Convenient.
locally, and it was. I like the in person stuff though. It's cool being, with people and being able to like, I don't know. I feel like you get like more of like obviously moving around and watching somebody exercise and things like that. You can get like a better look. You get like a better feel of like the exertion and everything like that. Because at times it could be hard to see on a small screen.
Mm-hmm.
And but I mean, other than things like that, I mean, I'm really into. I mean, we homeschool our daughter, so I do that. And
Better choice.
yeah, it's great. I love it. It's an
Great
awesome
choice.
opportunity, man. Spend so much time with her, and we have a newborn. Well, not he's not newborn now. He's almost a year, but with our son and everything, and it's I can't ask for anything better than what we got going on. I get to spend time with my kids and my wife, and I get to go out and do things with them and raise them, and it's a really cool experience.
Yeah, and people think that homeschooling is a terrible thing. Like, oh, you're gonna homeschool your kid? No, not nothing. They're safer home than where they're at right now, in this day and age. And also, not for nothing too. The extra the took a visit to a couple of schools. What they're teaching these kids in I genuinely almost had an aneurysm walking into the class and also reading my cousin's math problems, where it was they had to break down adding in several different ways. Like this number is supposed to get to. It was a whole different way of just getting this adding two numbers together.
Yeah, I think that's like the new. I don't know if it's got like I'm not sure. I might be misspeaking, but I think that's like the Common Core or whatever that is. I believe that's
That's
part of
that
that. Like
that's
the
Common
way.
Core. Oh my God, that I feel so bad for this next generation of kids because that's overcomplicating some simple math.
I mean, it's really like really. I remember seeing something and it had like a bunch of dots. Like it was like all these dots to represent, and I was like, I don't see what the I don't. You know what I mean? Like it was like really simple. Like you learned like you hold up six fingers and throw two more on six plus. It was
Yeah,
six. You know what I
literally.
mean? Like there
That's
was just a lot of extra stuff on there that I didn't understand. And you can get those programs if that's something that like people might be into that or might have an interest in that, and it's something that you can do because there's so many things out there that you can and there's like co-op groups to bring your kids for like, because like our daughter likes science, so like that was like a thing that we pursued, was taking her to do things like that. And like it's not like this forced interaction with kids that maybe they don't get along with. You hear about things with like bullies. Well, guess what? There's no bullies here. You know what I mean? And
mm.
it's cool. And she signed up for so many sports and activities and things like that. And it's great because like she can really like pick what she enjoys and put effort into like those things. And
As it should be, versus having to learn a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and then all these other extra things that especially if it's not going to pertain towards her career in the future. Like I know she's 9 years old and way
yeah,
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 long, long, long ways. But the earlier they develop a sense of what they really want to do with their lives, the better they want to. I want to say is well, not the better. The more they want to actually commit towards their goals
hmm,
instead of just thinking like, oh, I can just do a little bit of work and then I'll get there eventually. Like if anything, it's going to create a little bit more of a uh sense of urgency towards their goals once they get older and realize that, oh boy, I'm not old enough now. I can actually pursue everything now. Now it's everything. All I've been
yeah, right,
leading up to this point is now going to go in full swing. And having the support group of someone like yourself and her mother there too is even more of a security for them. It's
yeah, for sure, man. And it's big.
all right, guys. So real quick, we're just going to talk a little bit more about the boys over at Jocko Fuel, aka Origin Main. Me personally, I'm a big user of their creatine, the hydration, and the protein powder. Personally, it's my favorite protein on the market, with a combination of using digestive enzymes, essential amino acids, probiotics, and the quality of a 4 different blends of protein that are time release blends. I personally think it is the best protein on the market. If you are wanting to support the channel in any way, use code Welsh10 for 10% off your order. Again, it is Welsh10 for 10% off your order. And I guarantee you, you can go down and check out the sample pack. It's $11.99 right now. You get your sample pack, try out these flavors, see which one you like, and I guarantee you there's going to be one that you do. Let's get back to the episode.
I had full support from my mother, growing up and everything like that. And it's huge, man. Having your, it's important for them to like realize, or to like come up with their own, have their own dreams, really. And you just kind of gotta give them the tools and guide them along, and as best you can to get them to where they want to be, and obviously a nine, it's different, you know what I mean, than maybe down the road, a few years from now. I'm sure challenges come and go, and whatever, but you just got to be there. I mean, there's no other, that's my role in life at this point, is being a father. So I mean, what else do I have to do but do that?
And well, not for nothing. Also, I come from an area where there's a lot of fathers who aren't ready to be fathers, and then they are, it's another generation of leading down a broke leading another generation of broken individuals, which when you don't have that father figure there, someone to actually lead them, it's heartbreaking to hear and it's heartbreaking to see. So when you hear individuals like yourselves who are as present as you are in your kids' lives, and you are, as wanting to be in your kids' lives as you are, it's always, especially in this generation, it's a blessing to hear.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily something that you don't hear, not to hear every single day, but as present as you really are, being homeschooling them and actually, taking the initiative of taking care of your kids. Um, very commendable with that. Now we're at the part of the podcast where I wanted to ask you some 3 different questions. First set of questions, basically. What are 3 things that you have set for yourself for the future? What are 3 goals that you have for the future?
Three goals I have for the future. Um, well, one is I am going back to school. I'd like to get like a little bit more credibility behind my name,
Okay.
for some like exercise science, or somewhere along the lines of like human biomechanics or something like that, just to like really, just to be more professional with, like there's a lot of knowledge that I have for things. I just feel like, like presenting things to people that are like, a little bit out of like our traditional scope of like exercise. It really helps, to come from, I think, more maybe like of a background where maybe, a little bit more weight behind my name, I guess I could say, just to show that I put in the time and the effort for things that I'm willing to, that I have interest in, and have a desire to, learn more about, and explore more.
Can fully
Um,
relate to that.
yeah. Another
Very
goal of
similar goal.
mine is for sure to compete. Um, I don't know, probably, hopefully again in strongman. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the one this year that I was originally intending to do in November, but part of that comes from my next goal, which is to become, a little bit more, I guess, like financially independent. Um,
Mm.
it's I coming from like a background of welding. I've always worked in shops, and so I do have my own equipment. Um, but I'm not like really, maybe I'm not pushing it as much as I should be about how, I can make these things. But like I said, it is, it's not a huge it's not a huge field. Like people aren't, going crazy looking for loadable maces and stuff like that. But it is something that I could probably put a little bit more effort behind, and it would help, me try to reach that goal, become more like self-sustaining,
Of course.
you know.
Yeah, and that's challenge with any business in general. It running out of time. What are we talking about? Oh, that's right. I forgot about this. Yeah, Zoom cuts it off after 45 minutes now.
Yeah.
You cheap bastards. Anyway, Uh, awesome. No, but yeah, that another commendable thing. You know, financial freedom is definitely it's I don't want to say it's easy to attainable now, but it's a lot easier to attainable now in this generation currently with the amount of access that we have currently to not only everything through here through the web, but then also especially in the training field as well when you come down to training clients in person, online, then dealership brands and also equipment branding, all that stuff too. The the whole the world the you know the world's at your fingertips at that point.
Yeah.
Now, what are three things that make you happy?
Three things that make me happy. Uh, I love when the weekends roll around. Um, because I'm able to spend time with my wife works and everything during the week. I'm stay at home dad now, so it's so it's kind of like she's working and everything. She works from home, but it's we can't really interact much because it's important for her to have her space to be able to work and whatnot. So it's nice when the weekends roll around so we can all kind of like just cut loose and there's no pressure to like kind of like be quiet or things like that. Like it's nice to just be able to relax and do stuff around the house. I mean, like she just
Yeah.
painted the fireplace and everything behind us. It looks excellent. Now, I mean, I like it. It looks a
I
little
mean,
bit.
yeah, I mean, it looks pretty sick. It
I
looks
love
very,
it.
very
It's pretty,
zenful, very, very
yeah, it came out
zenful.
pretty slick. I think she did a good job.
I'd say so. I'd say so. She did a pretty damn good job back there.
Yeah,
That
it
looks
looks
pretty.
good.
That looks really cozy.
Yeah, it's nice.
What's the other thing? That's one thing. What do you got? Two more things. I need to hear three
Two more things
things.
that make me happy, man, are honestly, I enjoy reading a lot of like Vedic books.
Okay.
It was something that I could have never told you that it would have made me. It would have never been something like a few years ago that I would have said like I would have figured out that I'd be really happy reading, as I just enjoy hearing the stories of God, I guess, and it's really something that I like to relish in, and it's cool, man. It's a really interesting experience.
Man, it's all praise to the Most High.
Yeah, man, for sure. It's always, it's just glory to God, and everything else is
All
it all
glory,
happens
all
as
the
it
glory.
should happen.
And
Um,
need one more thing.
Another thing that makes me happy, I mean, just I obviously exercise and working out. I mean, just getting the chance to go out and be able to like, just I guess, just put myself out there, and just
Yeah.
exist, man. It's like a powerful thing. Especially working out outside. That's been like a big game changer, is like just getting out outside and like it really charges you up.
It taps you into your original roots, especially if you go
Yeah.
barefoot and you really just like go out there and you just really embrace the nature too. I love
Oh,
it's in the
for sure,
summertime
man.
on Long Island. I love trading out here in the summertime. I love it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And the last set of questions: what are three pieces of advice that you can give to anyone right now? In particular, not only just like who struggle with type 1 diabetes, but also not just anyone in particular. What are three pieces of advice you would give?
Three pieces of advice I would give is you can't be so hard on yourself. That's one. You got to be able to forgive yourself. Um, it's a learning experience. You know what I mean? Soul
Still
searching.
working
So
on that one.
you got to go easy on yourself. You really do. Hard on yourself where you have to be, but for the most part, relax. It's okay. It's gonna be all right. Um, Another piece of advice that I could give is specifically for diabetic people, make sure that you have like at least two tubes of glucose on you. Like I always carry glucose on me. Always, always, always. And never just one, amount for like one thing, because there's always a rebound. So I always make sure I have enough for the second time it happens. Because if you run out of the first one, you're again left with nothing. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
you gotta have another like backup to be able to make sure that the little emergencies don't happen.
The security blanket.
Yeah, you gotta have it. It's essential.
All right, guys. So real quick, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Welshcare store, and this will be the final commercial for today. So this will be a combination of not only the stuff that you can get for your vitamins and for supplement wise, but you can also get a wide variety of products for not only your home, self-care, beauty, everything and above. So if you are looking for a one-stop shop, by all means, go down and click on the Welshcare link. And let's get back to the episode.
It's essential. Um, Another piece of advice I have is you got to do stuff that makes you a little bit uncomfortable. Like, and I don't mean necessarily just physically uncomfortable, but like you when you had texted me and asked if I was ready or if I was still down or if I wanted to wait till tomorrow, man, I was. Let me tell you something. There's a guy in me that goes, just wait, bro. You're not ready. You're not ready. You know what I mean? But like, look, here's how I look at it. And it's a little bit weird. So like, it's either gonna be now or it's going to be another now, a little bit down the road. So like what better time than just like right now and just get it out of the way. You know what I mean? And not
Yeah.
in a bad way, get it out of the way. I mean like, handle your stuff, do your
No,
stuff.
dive into the cold pit.
Yeah.
The cold plunge
Yeah.
right there. Just jump right
That's
in.
it, man. Yeah, you can't just dip a toe, you know what I mean? You just got to
No,
get it. Just get it.
exactly, exactly. Which is something I'm still working to get through. I can only last about 2 minutes in a cold plunge right now. My goal is to at least get to 5 minutes by the time the November comes around. Well, no, November, yeah, November comes around. That's plenty of time.
Dude, the weather's getting nice now for that kind of stuff. I realize it's like 40 something in the morning, so I'm about to bring the hose around back and just fill that thing up, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's about time. I got to get back into it. I've been doing the cold showers every morning, but something about going outside and just kind of hopping in that thing where it's like, whoa, it's
Yep. Yep. First thing in the morning, you jump right in, and immediately it's the best coffee you'll ever have in your entire life. No need
George
for the
Hackenschmidt,
caffeine.
man. He's a huge like proponent for saying, just they would just forego the coffee and hop right in a cold shower.
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised just by how much of a natural source of energy you'll develop from that as well, and
Dude,
you also
resilient.
feel
You
better
become
too,
resilient in that stuff. Good
and
stuff.
makes your clothes feel a lot better too. When you're nice
Oh
and warm
yeah,
underneath the
yeah.
clothing.
Yeah, shiver.
And what then? Finally, what's the last piece of advice that you would give to anybody out right now?
Anybody out right now, man? Just I don't. I mean, I just I think that like if you're everything like if you're in a hard place, man, it gets better, and if you're in a good place, like I hope you can stay there because it's really like everything does. It comes and goes, ebbs and flows, and ups and downs or whatever. But like it's just important to kind of try to stay level while that stuff's going on, around you. Because it's really easy
Balance.
to get caught up in that other stuff and just to be all the things going on in the world. There's always something extra happening outside of our control and everything like that. And it's like really easy to get caught up in that stuff. And I've done it before. It's how I got caught up reading all
Yep,
these,
guilty.
these books, man, is looking for a way out of the craziness because I'm so easy to get sucked into to nonsense and losing myself. And I don't want to do that no more. I just want to, be right here where I'm at because there's no other place I can be besides right here, right now.
Being present, practicing being present and being still in the moment and realizing what you got in front of you too.
Yeah,
Especially in today's madness of a world that we got going on right now, where there's so much hate, there's so much violence, and there's so much misguidedness going on in this world, and there's so many things out of our control that we cannot physically control, and we are allowing our bodies to stress over, that we need to officially just let go of. Like that's such beautiful
sure.
advice, and it's such needed advice because people, especially right now, they're all over social media, saying these things, getting into these arguments, doing all these things, and realizing that, well, not even realizing how much of a more separation they're creating within their own selves and within their own like circle of people. But yeah,
For sure. I
beautiful pieces
agree.
of advice, brother, man. Beautiful pieces of advice, and just personally, again, wanted to say thank you for popping on over here. I know this is literally a last minute plan. It was just a jump on real quick, like, hey, I had a last minute cancellation. You want to jump on real quick, and honestly, I've been wanting to talk to you like this for a while. And then, we're not too far away. I know you're over in Jersey, so we
Yeah,
definitely
man,
gotta
I'm
link up.
close.
We
Close.
gotta link up and get a workout in. I gotta come out over you and train out in the woods
Sure,
one of
man.
these days. I'll bring some of my sandbags, I'll bring my maces and my kettlebells, and we'll have a good time
Dude,
too over
yeah.
there too.
No, that'd be great, man. I appreciate you asking me the questions, kind of prompted me to think about something, and I like that. It's cool, man. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
No,
It's
no
great
problem, brother,
experience,
man.
man.
Now,
Thank you.
last thing over here, your Instagram where people can follow you, all that stuff too.
Yeah, I got Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. It's all the same name, just Goondalini. That's it. And it's all pretty
Yeah,
much the same stuff on there, but anything helps, especially just trying to get over those little humps where it seems like it kind of pushes you through a little bit. You know what I mean? Like to get you a little bit more recognition or whatever out there. But hey, man, I'm having a good time doing it, and I appreciate being able to talk to you.
awesome, man. We'll definitely do this again soon because I definitely want to have you on again and talk a little bit more again in detail. But yeah, man, it was a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to the next conversation.
Thanks, Tim. I'll talk to you later, man.
Talk to you later, brother, man. Take care.
You too.